Okay, let's take it back to spring 2019. I had just learned what seasonal anime was after watching anime for about a year or two at that point. Spring 2019 had an interesting roster of anime with Demon Slayer, AOT Season 3 Part 2, and Rise of the Shield Hero. Needless to say, I picked none of those and instead picked the instant classic, Why the Hell Are You Here, Sensei? Either way, the season had ended, and now it was summer 2019, and this season had three particular first seasons that everyone was talking about. Those, of course, being Dr. Stone, Vinland Saga, and Fire Force. I never watched Vinland Saga because I wasn't about to get Prime Video, but I did watch Do You Love Your Mom and Her Two-Hit Multi-Target Attacks, and I guess Fire Force and Dr. Stone. I watched both their respective anime and loved them. After finishing Fire Force, I went straight to buying the physical volumes and reading them, and that's how I read it for a good chunk of time. Skip ahead about a year later, and I discover a manga site I've never heard of before, that manga site being Black Cat, and may it rest in peace. Now you may be asking what's so important about Black Cat, and if you never used it, I don't blame you for not knowing. Black Cat had really good scans, and it also had every chapter of Fire Force available. So finally, after reading the physical releases of Fire Force for around a year, I was eager to catch up to the most recent chapters. So over the next 2 days, I did nothing but eat, sleep, read Fire Force. I caught up and immediately regretted it. Not because Fire Force was bad, but I felt like a meth addict who needed his next fix. So I went cold turkey on Fire Force and decided I would catch back up only once the manga finished. And now that it's been roughly a week or two since it's finished, I'm ready to give my full thoughts on it. Fire Force is a great series that I've only ever sang praise for, and as much as people may trash it for certain aspects like the etchiness or just some assholes, I truly love it for all it is. I think Fire Force is a great series, and I don't think it overstays its welcome. It does everything really good. And I think that is, of course, thanks to Atsushi Okubo, who I have yet to read any of his other works, those being Biichi and Soul Eater, but you can bet I'm going to read them, because Okubo just has this special touch with the pen. I love his art, and I love his ideas even more. Fire Force turns this unremarkable power of being able to wield fire and control it to becoming something so cool. It has absolutely insane powers. Now, some powers may kind of not make sense in the grand scheme of thing when it comes to Haumea, when you think about that, but I don't mind, you a little bing bang boom, fire does this, fire do that. I'm like, hey, you got me sold. I'm not a rocket scientist. And that's why I think this is probably one of the most 9 out of 10 series I've ever read. And I hope all of you understand that's a good thing. I truly enjoy everything about it. I don't think there was a single bad arc. I love Shinra as a main character, and I love the side cast. And I think Arthur, as a part of that side cast, has cemented himself as one of my favorite side characters ever. And honestly, I think people might complain about Shinra not having development, and I personally think that's fine. He wanted to be a hero from the start, and he ended a hero. He never had any mental problems like, say, Guts or Musashi. He was Shinra, the hero. And I think another complaint people have is definitely the cast of characters being boring and not interesting. And of course, as a big fan, my opinion's definitely skewed on this a little bit, but I don't agree. Now, are they all amazing? No, but I don't think they're bad. I think it's fun to see them anytime they're on screen. For instance, I got attached to Juggernaut right away. The first 2 minutes he was on screen, I loved Juggernaut, and every other character that was on screen, although some did take a little more time for me to enjoy, never was there a single character that I wasn't a fan of. And then I think the real thing people want to hear me talk about right now is the ending of Fire Force. And wow, when I said it was a 9 out of 10 series, I feel like this partially takes away some of that point that can make it a 10 out of 10, because It's great, and I never expected Fire Force to have a big fight, but the stakes felt so high, and with the soul resonance happening, as someone who's never read Soul Eater, I didn't have the reaction of, oh shit, it's happening. I was kind of just like, oh shit, this is something new. And I don't want to say I'm complaining. I appreciate it. I think everything about it was cool. It just feels like the ending could have been better, but I feel like that's what everybody says when something ends. So I appreciate this. I appreciate the series actually ending rather than going on forever. And I appreciate it even more for setting up Soul Eater, because now I'll probably journey into that at some point in the near future. And I'll probably journey into Biichi, because I absolutely love Okubo's work that he's done with Fire Force, and I can't wait to see more. I also love the world of Fire Force. The world is just very unique to me, and with Okubo's art, that just really pops out of the page. The world is amazing. When they go to China and they go in the desert, it's amazing. When they're in the forest and they find Amaterasu chilling in that smokestack thing, that looked amazing. There was never really a single chapter I read in Fire Force that I didn't appreciate the art. There's always at least one moment in a chapter I'm like, oh shit, that's cool. And that especially helps this series too, because seeing the fire and Shinra's power ups and Arthur's fights and all these peaks added in with this amazing art is really cool. And the fact the art is very dark black contrasted onto white, and there's not too many gray tones, I personally really appreciate that. But I love all art. I can't draw, so my opinion doesn't matter too much on that. Although I think nobody could say this is bad art. Overall, though, I think Fire Force is a great series that I'm sad to see end. But I appreciate everything it's done. And although Okubo said he won't be returning, and then the last chapter said please look forward to his next work, I'm happy if he doesn't make anything else. The guy ended on a great peak, and if he makes more, I'm going to be right there supporting it. I love Fire Force, and I hope you guys stick with me to see me talk about Biichi and Soul Eater in the future. If you did enjoy, though, and I'm sorry my thoughts are very scrambled, it's hard to talk about a series I love so much and try to stay on track, and especially talk about themes and all that stuff like some others would, because that's not what I really look for when I read a series. When I read something, it's did I enjoy it? And I think in the end, I really enjoyed Fire Force. And so that's what I'm going to leave you with. But yeah, hopefully you enjoyed. And maybe I'll see you guys in the next one. But until then, peace.